Welcome back to class, dear students. In this lesson, let's talk about CSS, pseudo classes, pseudo element, and media query. So we'll learn a lot about what these things are, how effective they are to help you add some more styling and things to your decentralized website or decentralized app, so DApp or the web. Now, in this lesson, we dive into the dynamic world of CSS to enhance the aesthetics and responsiveness of Web3 application. So, let's see pseudo classes and pseudo element. What are pseudo? I don't know. Some will call it pseudo or pseudo. Please pardon me for my pronunciation. Pseudo classes allow you to define a special state of an element, such as over, focus, active. So you remember we once done CSS syntax, selector, combinator. How do you pick a CSS HTML element or HTML tag to direct a CSS selector as a CSS selector to now use a CSS declaration to implement whatever you want to do. In a layman term, let's say you want to apply CSS to an HTML element. How do you pick it? So we have learned differences like mentioning the element directly. Then you can as well use classes, the dot, and then the hash, that is the ID, or some other combinator like that, like if this one is adjacent to this child of this. Now we have done that in this lesson. You can go and watch that lesson. Now, beyond that, there are times you want to do some superpower work, like when somebody over on something which you have been doing, you didn't notice. What should happen? And I will show you. This from our previous class, you notice, you see, over means you put your mouse on top of something. So when you put it, you see, it doesn't happen. But immediately I do this, there is a work of a pseudo class, because pseudo is like, maybe we should even ask our AI to tell us what's the pseudo mean. You can see it here. We already use it to say over. So navigation, when it says, so let's say it should explain this code for us. So like I said, that's why the courses are AI enhanced, shows you how you can use this AI today to enhance your development, especially as a Web3 developer. You see, is a selector is a combination of an element selector and a pseudo class over. You see it. So it select the element called nav. They now said apply to over. So this, do you see it now? Sorry. Now, when we look at it, it says this A is now telling us that when an anchor, that means that has the hyperlink, is overed on, that means over, like mouse is moved on it like this, then it will change the background color to this, and then to the color to yellow. That's what happens here, you see. You see, that's why when I move here, it doesn't work, even though it's still in the same nav bar, because this doesn't have a link in it. You understand? If I try to change this also to a link, let's say X a tag href which means I can click this. Okay, this is outside the nav, so that was why it wasn't working. You can see it. So those are part of what we are saying. You need to understand how these elements were being picked. So it has been specific that anything it will do must be inside the navigation bar, navigation HTML element, and from the closing nav HTML tag to the content and everything. And this is outside of it, so it can't work. You understand it now? Yeah. So we can see it clearly why it's targeting that. So that's what it means. What does the pseudo mean and why named so? So you can see it now that the term pseudo in CSS refers to, these are special keywords that are used to define the state of an element or to select the style and style a part of an element. You see it now. So it's like they are not existing. You understand? I'm coming. I still want to get something. Pseudo mini. Just want to save the pick it from. Okay, that one has not finished. Pseudo mini in English, literal mini. Let's see. So I think my network is the issue. So that's why it's taking longer time to process. So while that is on, at least you are now have idea. So these things are like a kind of invisible. You don't need an HTML. It's like a place where CSS try to take charge of HTML work. So you know that usually all these things need to have been written in HTML. Then the CSS just come in and just style it. But now it's like the CSS is saying no. After all, I should be able to do things myself. So that is the work of that pseudo, where the HTML will not exist, but you can use it to introduce content. You can use it to do a lot of things, which we are still going to use it later on. You will still see it being used to introduce a kind of subtitle here, I think here. So in upcoming lessons, I think I will still work on that. So, but at least for now, that's the major thing for you to know, that pseudo is like CSS doing the work of HTML. Because HTML, you know, everything here, you can as well see them written here. But pseudo can say, after this H1, include a text. Then you will now discover that when you come here, that text doesn't exist. And I think that is bad for semantics like SEO and things like that, because when these things are rendered, they may not be rendered in your HTML, and then maybe like CSS or crawling things, we just see that thing doesn't exist, but the user can see it. So those are part of the issue with using things like that. So, but it's still cool using it for over effect and things like so. You can see like before this or after this element, do this. So what are media queries? Media queries are crucial for building responsive designs. They enable the application of different styles for different devices or screen size. So ensuring that your dApp looks good on all devices, just like working in hand with all those flexbox. But this time around, you are targeting like specific devices. Like if you want to be more predictable, like if the screen size that will display the web or the website or dApp, let it, if it's 600 pixel, let it perform like this. If it is 800 pixel, 1000 pixel, so you now have now you don't have a predictable. You just know that things we try to fix in, but when I'm coming, thank you. You understand? So now you just know that it will adjust itself to try to fit in, and that adjustment doesn't always mean the display, look at this now, will be cool. So if you want to control it, you need things like media query to specifically state if the device is below this pixel of display, this is how it should be displayed. If it is wider than this is how it should be displayed. So it gives much better control. So when you use it collectively with things like this, then you get a better responsive, well in your control design. So that's what media query. And we have the example of the enhancement. You can see it. You can declare minimum and maximum weight, minimum weight of the screen and maximum weight. So when it is so pixel, the background should be linear gradient to right. Do you see it now? Then the flex should be this. Media query for mobile device, max width is 767 pixel. Then the nav bar should become a column. You understand what I'm saying? So this takes a much work, but like I said, don't be scared. Just have idea, and you can tell the AI, okay, give me a media query for so. So you don't need to write all these things yourself. Also, there are also libraries and frameworks of CSS that get all this done. So once you implement that, you have a code like this, which let me try and copy. So like I said, maybe I need to put the feature ought to be working to just copy it, but I don't know why it's having those issues. Maybe I need to improve the user experience as well. So now let's say we've copied this. Let's have this up. As usual, we try to clear whatever we've got there so that we know and see what we are doing. Then we save. We have things up here. And let's paste this. So you see it, the color have changed and all those things because of the color I used for. You see it? Now let's observe something. You will notice it says 768 pixel to maximum of 1000 pixel. This should be this. Now let's play around. And then when is this, it should change. Do you see it? Can you see the color changing? So you can predict. You see, once you get to a level, do you see it? This is the actual like normal color we are using for the site, but immediately it gets smaller to like 760 pixels. You see it? You see that point? Transitions. So this helps you to be able to predict that, okay, on mobile phone, on tablets, on normal screen like laptop or computer, on bigger screen, you understand what I'm saying? So depending on your users that are using your site, you can target them and be able to control to give them the best experience with this media query. So that's why you can see, you see it's changing for each, you can see. And this is what I was also saying before. I've been able to introduce this there, and let me see how that was introduced. Good. So you can see it. I was using the pseudo element for the subtitle. So you can see this now. The feature of token minting. So this we are saying after H1, put this. Then we style it and make sure it can display. That's why we can have it. It's still outside of recording. You see it now. Then I can have the title and then have this. So like over here now, to make things, I can just decide to change the title to like this. And then you see it makes sense now. So token minted app, the future of token minting. You understand what I'm saying? So that's, but this doesn't exist inside the HTML. It doesn't exist here. But we are able to use to say, after all, it's CSS, I can as well do what HTML would do. That's pseudo. So we are able to use the pseudo element and pseudo classes to say, okay, after this, whenever you say H1, put this. And because we know the title, the main title will only be the one to have. So this will be like the subtitle. This create the subtitle without actually creating it in HTML. So I think this gives a more clearer what pseudo classes, pseudo elements are being used for. And at the same time, we also learned about media query. So that was a lot we are able to learn here, and then we can see the color switching, design switching, and we can control this as well and things like that. So that's it for this lesson. I will see you in the next. Keep the programming spirit and alive. I remain Solomon Foske of the Programming University. Please always do good to humanity and nature with your knowledge and programming skill and not evil, to make the world and the universe a better place for us all. Peace and bye.